Hey y'all, you're listening to Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies, the DSM podcast. We help make mental health more comfortable by using Black movies and shows we know and love and culture to remove stigma. So join our convo with your host, Courtney Copeland, licensed mental health counselor.
And Dr. B, licensed professional counselor. Courtney, we have one of my favorite professionals as our guest today. Not only is she
your favorite professional.
No. You're like one of my favorite friends. One of my favorite Sisters of Masters program. But no. This is one of my favorite professionals. And she happened to take on, I don't know if she officially did, but I'm going to put it in here, that she is my mentor.
All right. You speak that out into existence.
Yes.
Yeah. Just see how well you'll be able to get in contact with me. So you won't get. I'm hard to catch up with.
I'll be on the line, I'll be like, oh, wait, I'll hold. But this is the lovely Dr. Asha Dickerson. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you all for having me. I'm looking forward to it. I listened to some other episodes and they sound like a ton of fun. So I'm ready.
Yes.
So I like it when people say a ton of fun other than y'all sound a hot mess.
Facts. Because if it was something like that, I'd be like, damn, we got to maybe change it up a little bit.
This is who we are. This is take us as we are.
Well, I appreciate your authenticity. I will take you as you are.
Thank you. So it seems like we have one of your favorites that we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
All right. So we have what's your favorite movie?
Well, it's one of my favorites. I have 3 favorites. So my other 2 favorites are The Wiz and Coming to America, but Harlem Nights I absolutely love. I was just talking about the movie with my kids the other day because every now and then I bring up something, they're like, what is that? And then I'm like, I have failed as a parent.
What'd you say? What
we have to install these gems in these children.
It was about somebody leaving a swallow of the juice in the refrigerator, just drinking it. They were like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, they were like, "A swallow." I was like, "Y'all don't remember that from Harlem Nights?" And then they were like, "Harlem Nights." Now I have failed you as a Black mother. You should have watched this by now.
You're still catching it though. Like it's okay as long as you're catching it as a parent. Good. Like you still speak to your children so that you're still instilling the parenting is a lifelong job.
I appreciate that because every now and then, they do something to remind me that they're suburban, and I just, my family has successfully stopped the cycle of poverty, and I don't have a cousin in the projects to drop them off with because my mom used to just drop me off in the hood when I started. I don't have anywhere to drop my kid. She was like, just acting too privileged. Just let me go ahead and drop you off with your cousin.
Well, see, that's why I'm thankful that we have movies such as the 1989 classic Harlem Nights, written and directed by Eddie Murphy, so that, the kids, they still can learn.
Right.
Just learn, a little virtual learn to never hurt nobody.
I love that.
Drink it down to a swallow and put it back in the refrigerator.
You should have just finished it. Don't put it back in the refrigerator with just a swallow in the container. I get my mouth all set for some orange juice, and it's just a swallow in the container.
Well, swallow it and shut the fuck up.
You blind motherfucker.
You fat bitch.
That's it. I have whole other bottles of juice under the cabinet. Just finish it.
But now, had they ever said, well, swallow it and shut the fuck up, it would have been a real problem.
You know what? Never have. That's true.
Then it would have been, now I got to cut you.
I got to cut you.
I don't think they're that, you know what? That's the positive part of them being suburbans, that they would not come at me like that.
Right. Yep.
That gangster is not in them. It's not in them.
That's funny. But with that, what are some of your other favorite quotes from the movie, aside from the swallow?
Of course, the part about,
oh, now you're gonna shoot me in my pinky toe.
That's okay. That's probably my number one line. The swallow is number 2.
Oh, he shot me in my pinky toe. I know, man. I'm gonna put what's left of my foot in your ass. I'm gonna kill him, sugar.
Yes.
And when Della Reese is going off about she controls all the money in the whole house.
In the house.
When she said, I'm an honest hoe, and all my hoes is honest.
Right.
Let them know.
I said,
I am in charge of the girls.
Right.
You in charge of the I'm in charge of the girls. She did not.
Everything Delarice said.
Yes.
Everything she said was hilarious. And her and Red Fox going back and forth.
You better watch it quick. You fucking with a heavyweight.
It made the whole movie for me. It was all I needed. It spoke to my spirit.
I agree too. It was decades later when I realized that she, even though she looked exactly the same, was the same woman from that TV show Touched by an Angel. It's like, folks get old and start to find Jesus. And
right. Like those two things can exist inside of you. You can love the Lord and be an honest hoe. Like both of those can happen.
Yes. That's my number one quote for the day. I'm taking that with me. You can love the Lord and be an honest hoe. I like
it. There you go. That's the
hoes love the Lord.
Yes, they do.
It's what keeps them honest.
Yes. Honestly, she was the only one that I felt said kiss my ass the most in this movie.
Yeah.
Kiss my ass, sugar.
Kiss my entire ass. I don't give a shit. Kiss my entire ass. And then she told Red to kiss her ass, and then she said,
I would tell you to kiss my ass too, but you probably can't find it, you blind motherfucker.
Fuck you, bitch.
All right. Right.
So, again, I think she had some of the best ones. But honestly, little quick, but at the beginning, he said, you ain't kicking shit. I was like, wow, what would you do if a kid said that to you? Like, I kick your ass. You ain't kicking shit. Like, I think I'd walk away from that fight.
The first thing I'm doing is looking around like, where's this kid's parent? Why are you out here?
And then, so of course, he asked, Sugar Ray asked, and he's like, where's your parents? And he's like, they dead, basically. And then he's like, you kill them too?
No, they just dead.
Honestly, that's a question I would have asked. Like, wait, you just shot this man in front of me. You killed him? You gonna kill me too?
That gangster was in him as a child. He was not afraid.
He had it. So then you might not want the gangster in your child. I mean, Quick had to be homeless and parentless in order for him.
He did. But he found what he needed eventually and came on up. Had a somewhat decent life before they had to leave Harlem.
He almost got
definitely
killed.
agree.
It was decent.
Hey, exactly. He was being taught life lessons. Sugar really cared about him. Delarice said, I love that little boy. Like, he had a support system. He had a job. He was doing well for himself. He was mildly well adjusted, considering the fact that both his parents was dead.
Time out. Okay, for a second I was on the and then I just realized he had a fight in the alleyway with Della. Like, how is that
She
healthy?
told him that you have to chastise your children now. You're not going to call me no thief. Now I get your ass outside. We got to go. You don't call me a thief. And so now...
Right. Okay.
And she was ready.
To her, that was her logical consequence. She called me a thief. We got to fight. Makes sense.
You hit me with a trash can. Now I got to cut you. Like, everything has a natural consequence.
I don't know. If my kids called me a thief, I'm not sure we wouldn't be outside. Well, inside because it's hot right now. But I'm not sure I wouldn't lay hands on them either. I'm like, oh, okay. That's what
that's what we do. And so you're gonna square up with it too,
right?
You know they can't fight,
right? Because they've never been in a fight.
You're gonna be like, "Mommy, no."
But I have to show. No, they're gonna start crying.
Right? I'm sorry.
Calling people.
They're gonna be like, "Come get her, my mom." They're not gonna be like, "Who?" They're gonna be like, "We on the way. We already know."
But I mean, Quick was already killing people, so she knew, like, I can't just talk to you. I'm not just about to yell at you and you learn the lesson. I got to put my hands on you.
She had to earn. Well, she felt like she needed to earn more respect because she thought she had this respect, and then when she found out or felt like she did not, she wanted to earn a little bit more.
And when she was on the ground and pound, that's what she said. You gonna learn to respect me.
And she got hit. They was like, you just mad because you got your ass whooped. I was like,
He said if you didn't have that gun, she'd still be whooping your ass.
exactly. She sure would have been. Had him hemmed up in the corner somewhere.
I like
Okay, so ladies, I have a question with that. At first, I was like, okay, Vera, possibly disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, some of these angry outbursts. But then I said no. I threw my pencil and everything. No, there was nothing. Nothing diagnosable about Vera. She was just a strong woman. Yes, she was a strong woman demanding respect in a male-dominated space. And and she just had to assert herself to a specific level. She had to demand her respect from each and every single one of these gentlemen in order to keep her position strong and keep her position strong in front of the girls who she was in charge of.
Right. Okay. Because she had to serve as an example for them too. So I'm 100% with you. That's the same thing I was thinking when I was watching it again, preparing for this. Is, it's like most Black women in America. If I go off, if you do something to me and then I go off and cuss you out, now I'm an angry Black woman. But that's not what really happened. This is me asserting myself and taking up for myself after you offended me.
Right.
So
I think she's a good leader.
Right. She had her girls. I got my girls. And my girls have seen me cuss people out at the grocery store before. They've seen me throw people's bags off of the at the airport. A woman put her bag in front of my youngest child's bag when we were in line to get through security. And I picked her bag up and I threw it down. I told her, wait, you will respect my child. And I cussed
That's
her.
right.
So you gotta be an example for those behind you. Otherwise, those girls were going to be hoes forever. And I'm sure they didn't want to be hoes forever.
And then they might not have been honest hoes. And then they'd have fell into the evil. The devil is always working. Okay. Right. So she had to keep her love for the Lord, giving her the strength so she could do all things through Christ, who gave her the strength to command each and every individual around her. I feel like she ain't nothing but a good leader.
Your Sunday sermon?
That's it. It is a
Sunday sermon-esque.
Where's the tithes and offering?
Right. But so back to what we were saying a little bit earlier, though, because we got on this by talking about Quick, and I said he had a successful life. And Dr. B, you didn't sound like you agree with that, but you have to remember that your version of success and somebody else's version of success isn't necessarily the same thing. You
know what? You surely is right. You better get me together, okay? Because perhaps having a gun drawn on me during sex is not as bad as I thought it would be.
Well, if that's what you're used to.
If somebody is prepared, if you are aware that somebody's going to draw their gun on you, would you not prepare? Like everything that he did, it was a result of a consequence of someone else's actions. He was going to stab us, so I shot him. He's trying to kill me, so I'm going to kill him. She had a pearl handle pistol under the pillow, so I put my pearl handle pistol under the pillow.
He said it was so cute. Ooh, I thought I was the only one that slept with my gun.
So excited. He was like, we have so much in common.
And then it clicked like, oh, she was about to kill me. Okay, let me empty out these bullets and put it back where I found it. Gotcha. But anyhow, so I think you're right. I should not say he wasn't successful despite all of the craziness.
I mean, his life was totally set up for him to be on crack. Or something.
It definitely was.
Heroin might have been the drug of choice at the
was
time.
That back then? Okay, thanks for
30s,
remembering.
Yeah.
Okay, he would have been on whatever was the number one drug at that time. His life was set up for that. Parentless, living on the streets, amongst violence and gangsters and prostitution. I mean, it's amazing that he didn't end up in the worst position. Instead, he became an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
He did.
Overseer of the bar and the craps table.
Okay, I was about to say, so what was his position at the casino again? Okay. All right. Well, all right, fine. However,
I did, however, diagnose young Quick.
I felt like both young and older Quick too.
Okay, you go first.
So younger Quick gets reactive attachment disorder because he had no cares about who or what was going on. Like he didn't attach to anybody. Even when Sugar Ray was like, "Yeah, I'll take you in," he's just like, "Cool."
Right.
Like, he wasn't like Annie, like, "Yay, it's gonna be a brighter tomorrow." Like, he didn't care. But I also gave him as an adult general personality disorder. And I'll explain my rationale for that. But for now, the reactive attachment disorder, he seemed emotionally withdrawn towards adult caregivers. Child rarely or minimally seeks comfort when in distress. He did not look distressed when he shot that gun.
Nope.
He did not look around for nobody to comfort him. And then persistent social emotional disturbance characterized by at least two of the following: minimal and emotional responsiveness to others. So again, the same reaction that he had with the adults talking to him. Limited positive affect, and then exposed episodes of unexplained irritability, sadness, fearfulness that are evident even during non-threatening interaction with adult caregivers. So for that one, I couldn't say that I see it, but for the other ones, I could say definitely. I'm
with you. I had that down in my notes too. That's definitely the one I would have gone with for him.
Yeah,
now, you're gonna have you got a little more explaining to do with your diagnosis for him as an adult, because I'm
You're not feeling
yes,
that?
I would like to challenge the adult one, but you have changed my mind for the child one, because I was thinking possibly ODD at first, because like the give me 5, I ain't giving you shit. Like just everything was met with that oppositional kind of stance that he was taking. But I'm feeling the rats. I'm feeling the rats.
Well, of course he could have both, but the thing about the ODD is that it could definitely be attributed to the reactive attachment disorder.
Right. And that's why I'm like, I would do away with it altogether. If I went RADS, I'd probably do away with it altogether, because I feel like it would be better explained by the RADS and not want to, especially with him having a caring parental figure now. Like I would want the outlook to be, because diagnoses unfortunately do carry a certain level of stigma. They do, when people see certain diagnoses, they interact with people differently. So especially as a child, if I have the rats, I'm going to stick with that, because we need to know that there is instability in caregiving figures. And we need to stabilize that before we really work on anything else. Because once that was stable with Sugar Ray, he was able to flourish. So yeah, you've changed my mind. We're RADS, Team RADS.
All right.
All right. So for the general personality disorder, so it says an enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior that deviates markedly from the expectations of the individual's culture. This pattern is manifested in 2 or more of the following areas: cognition, ways perceiving and interpreting self, others, and events; affectivity, the range, intensity, liability, and appropriateness of emotional response; interpersonal functioning; and then impulse control. So the reason why I'm considering general personality disorder is that even though Ray did provide him some type of structure for his life, he wasn't able to kind of get to him on that emotional maturity level. So you could still see him operating childlike, like how he picked up the gun at that initial scene. He was ready to pick up the gun and go head toe to toe with a gangster. And that's when Ray had to remind him, he's like, no, this isn't the type of person that you want to go toe to toe with. Like this man is going to kill you and no one's going to care, or, and so he's like, he's still trying to train him and change him. And from being like, oh, let me go impulsively do this, rather than, taking his time to think things out the way that Sugar Ray did. So you saw that Sugar Ray came up with a plan. He created a plan, and the plan wasn't only for himself, it was for everyone. Quick, on the other hand, was still operating from the thought process of flight and fight, flight or fight. And so with him being in that survivor instinct, he doesn't have the maturity level or the ability cognitively to have thought out some of the decisions that he made in the movie, which is why it kind of carried the way it did. Had he just told Ray up front what was happening, things could have been different. But because of the context of how he took the situation and wanted to go gun first. That's why we ended up with the way the movie happened. That's my theory.
Okay. I agree that he was emotionally immature, but I disagree with everything else.
Everything else,
fine.
I feel like we see between the two of them, we see a representation of fight or flight, where Quick is the fight and Ray is the flight. He's saying like, nope, we're going to go to a different place. We're going to set up shop there. Quick is like, no, we have to stay and fight. And I feel like what we're seeing is more like, yes, the emotional immaturity, but I feel like he's trying to assert himself as and establish his identity more so than anything else. I'm not a punk, and like people don't get to treat me like this and me feel like it's okay and me not do anything to respond. To me, it was more so him struggling with how he presents himself in the, I guess, criminal world, because if he is then seen to be soft or have a weakness in certain areas, then them, interacting with other criminals, that could be detrimental to him. And so I felt like it was more so him like, no, I'm a man. I'm asserting himself more because he's always been known to be Sugar Ray's, son, his boy, his, under him. And he was like, no, this is where I put my foot down. This is where I'm taking a stand, and I'm not going to tolerate that. And yes, I feel like he handled it emotionally immature. I just think he's emotionally immature all the way around, from the way he was responding to different stuff. All the stuff with Dominique LaRue as well just screamed immaturity to me, but not personality disorder.
Because that's so deep when you give somebody a personality disorder.
Wait, I thought this was a DSM podcast.
I mean, it's so deep.
When
and this is partly my bias based on what I've seen in clients. When I think personality disorder, I think hard to deal with, and he feels like somebody I could work with, somebody that I could help. So let's go with Courtney. You said oppositional defiant disorder for him as a child, and that's where I was going with him as an adult. Mm-hmm. Just, which essentially a lot of children who are diagnosed with ODD as children end up being diagnosed with a personality disorder later in life. But he's already an adult, and so
but not Quick. Right. That's why I went personality disorder, because if you go with reactive attachment disorder, I feel like with good prognosis, a person may not. And let me just say this: any person that has had an experience of losing both their child and growing up in adverse, environments, they're not going to always turn out to be criminals or hardened individuals. They can flourish and have healthy lives. So I'm not saying that, but based off of his trajectory from just the movie, I would go in to say general personality disorder, like from the growth, from what I see.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm just seeing general, what am I saying? Irritability and quickly angering, and I mean, just doing things that are against the rules. Like, I mean, his whole job is against laws. Right. So that was the number one reason. I was like, he's oppositional and he's defiant. Someone else says, let's do A. He's like, no, let's do B. And half the time, I'm not even sure he knows why. It's like, no, I just want to do something different just because I'm oppositional.
He has impulse control issues, which is also a criteria of personality.
Well, I mean, being easily angered or easily annoyed, though, are like the top two for oppositional defiant disorder.
That's true. And so I wonder, well, first of all, we don't see a lot of Black men being diagnosed with general personality disorder, but we do see a lot of young Black men being diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if that's why we're hesitant with him in particular to not give him this type of diagnosis.
Well, so I can say possibly it's the same reason I'm hesitant to give any other Black man that type of diagnosis, because I'm always considering everything else that happened in the background to contribute to this. Like if you're easily angered because people keep Do y'all cuss on this podcast? I'm saying people keep effing with you.
That's right.
And
you fucking with you.
Lord, shut the fuck up. I think you're okay.
And we were talking about how he keeps shooting people, but as Courtney was saying, those people are coming after him first. So his behavior, although it might not be the same way I would behave, it's clear to me that it's only because of the things that have been done to him. Even him fighting for this club is because here comes this white gangster trying to take over their stuff. It's something he had no part in making a success. And so he's going to be oppositional. He's going to be defiant. He doesn't want to run away like a punk. He'd rather pull out a gun and fight. I don't want to give him a personality disorder.
Yeah, if I had a chance to fight, I'd fight. Give me a reason to fight, y'all.
I was just about to say, you of all people. But also, I don't want to attribute, I don't want to in any way put pathology with, I don't even like calling Sugar Ray's like a criminal element because it was limited opportunity. This is the 30s. There are limited opportunities for people of color. He built this business up, on his own without any help from outside entities. Like it was really just his community, the people that he had around him helped build up this business. And technically it wasn't legal, but even if he wanted to do a legal house like the Pity Pat Club, he wouldn't be granted the same licenses and different things like that because he is a Black man. And so like he even Sugar Ray told him earlier, like, you're not a gangster. We run a dance hall like that. That's what we do. This is what we do. So he's saying like, yes, we, dibble and dabble in this criminal element, but that's because this is how we make business. We're not necessarily like them. We're not doing what they do. And I think that is where Quick was trying to, and that's too why I focus on his emotional immaturity is because for him to be 27 and him still trying to be asserting, oh, I'm not a punk. Oh, this is, this is who I am. We're going to fight this way. And I felt like a lot of that came from him just being emotionally immature and feeling like this is how I have to react because we're in this criminal element and him feeling like we have to do it this way. And Sugar Ray just being that parent figure and saying, no, I have a plan. This is how we're going to do it. It's going to take care of everybody. And like taking those steps and really slowing him down, really just being like his old head to like show him like, no, there's a better and different way to go about doing things like this. And let's let them end up playing themselves because of their own biases and things that they're thinking. And that's why I just don't, I always have, I have a soft spot for my hoodlums. I love them.
Not hoodlums.
I don't know what to diagnose them.
I mean, they just still, like you said, we don't want to call it criminal activity. Well, even though it really just was. But, the business did not have the support that a white business would have, even so much as having the police come in to harass them. Back in the 30s, I mean, the police, we have issues with police brutality now, but back then the police sole purpose was to F with Black folks. In line. Right.
Yeah.
And not just keeping them in line, but, putting them in the prison system so that they could work all the fields and stuff that they weren't working anymore. So they could have the free labor that they didn't have anymore. So they were going to get them for everything.
Laying the rail racks. That's why he was imprisoning people so that they could build trains.
And the coal mines. I'm from Alabama, so back in Pratt City, they would put them in jail and put them on the coal mines, which is stupid stuff. Where they were going to die. They need the coal, but these Black lives they didn't care anything about. They were rarely arrested for killing each other. They didn't care anything about one Black person killing another Black person. But mess up some white man's business. They're never coming after you.
Doing
message.
Right. So this is like, and that's what's interesting about this movie because it definitely is showing the authenticity of that time by portraying the police officer in the way they did and harassing them. And then, looking at, to me, I always felt like Black gangsters don't get as much of the glory and respect as like mafias and mobsters, and we've been around just as long, but we have also been overly criminalized for a lot of the things that they do as well. And I think here is obviously the perfect example. Here's this mafia guy telling the police officer to go mess with the black man. And it's like, wow. You know, I didn't want to go all the way into that, but of course my adult mind is like, wow, this is a lot deeper than it's just Sugar Ray's, you know. Mm-hmm. What was it? It wasn't a juke joint. It was a wrong error.
It was a club.
Club, you know? Whatever.
Yeah. But I, to your point, that's definitely an issue. And it's also even been an issue with film. Like there was lots of criticism surrounding Harlem Nights when it first came out, and them saying, oh, it's too vulgar for this period piece. But like, all of Martin Scorsese's movies are set around, you know, these same times. And there's just as much vulgarity, if not more. But those are critically acclaimed and profound. But for historically, all of Black film, any movie that is about gangsters or any in that fashion in any way, it does not get the same type of critical acclaim. It is always kind of looked down on, lesser than, when Martin Scorsese and all of his films and all of Goodfellas and all of those are lifted up and praised. And look at how accurate this is. This is such an honest depiction and all of these things, where our films are like, oh, this is a terrible like hood film. It's a Black film and it's not for anyone else. Like, no, I'm tired of it.
It's because it was, one, Black, and then two, it has majority Black comedians starring, you know, and so then it kind of takes away the seriousness of it. And then on top of that, I feel like anything that has an added element of humor, I think, doesn't get the same level of respect.
Mm-hmm. You're right there. I agree. I mean, and still, again, watching it now with a different lens, I see things that I didn't see, you know, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Definitely not when it came out in '89. I'm not even sure if y'all were born by then, but I was a small child. So
I think I might have been thought of, maybe.
I was one. I was here.
But yeah, I agree. Like, it doesn't seem like, and it's great because you have so many generations of comedians, but it didn't seem as if it got the level of respect it should have because of the fact that there were so many. And it's like, how can we take you guys seriously? Like, this is a ha-ha.
But even if it is a ha-ha, give it its accolades for being a ha-ha. This movie was funny.
Because you laughed throughout the movie. And just
from the
that's
beginning
when you start
to the
giving
end.
your abs a little break from laughing. You know, something happens and you laugh again.
Mm-hmm. Right.
From the moment we see the toothless gambler.
Snag a tooth.
I diagnosed him with, I didn't go full on paranoid personality disorder because we only see him in this one setting, but I just did say that he is struggling with some issues of paranoia from his fear that children do give him bad luck. And indeed, the child did bring him bad luck, but
I mean, he may also have a gambling addiction because he wasn't doing well. He just kept on trying until it was, that's a you problem.
Right.
I just went to Vegas and I lost $20. I was done.
Okay. Penny slot.
It's not fun for me to lose money.
No, it hurt. I take that very personal.
Yeah.
He took it personal as well because he said, you ain't just going to give me what I lost. You're going to give me everything you took it.
Everything.
But that didn't work out well for him.
Well, that goes back to him being delusional. Like, he just assumed that he was going to be successful in doing that. And I'm looking at him with no teeth in his mouth, and I'm thinking, man, I'm wondering if that's because of fights you've been in the past, or just.
You're just not caring for yourself all around together.
but either way, the odds of you successfully doing what you thought you were going to make with a little knife, like guns, didn't exist.
Right.
And you going to stick how many people? Because he said, I'm going to stick you. And so we just going to stand in line and let you
I just go get
my turn. Stick me now. I'm going to stand real still. Just go for it. Ridiculous.
And another one that I did not give a full diagnosis on, but had he not died, I would have liked to work with Tommy's brother on his severe grief and bereavement.
Oh, the crying man who has no name.
Shoot that little shit!
What the hell you think you're doing with that little shit?
That was funny, yes.
He was so upset.
Stop it! Stop it! Don't shoot that little motherfucker no more!
They shot him up in the car. They was a mess. Oh, they were such a mess.
I'm gonna kill you quick!
Quick! I'm gonna kill you quick!
Right. Friends, this is a perfect example as to why you cannot do things under emotional distress. Don't
great
do
advice.
it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I guess the last one who I was not a full diagnosis because we just didn't have enough, but I did speak to Benny's agitation and irritability due to his denial of his vision loss.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I would just be pulling in V codes for him. I mean, he's
Yes.
got a physical disability, and it's just
Right.
not something he was willing to embrace and accept and make a part of his identity.
Just struggling, little adjustment issues with, you know, getting used to his new level of ability. Or lack thereof.
Aww,
I've been calling these dice for 40 years.
Yeah, I did. So speaking of V codes, I actually did a V codes for Sugar Ray.
Okay.
I gave him a V code V62.29, other problem related to employment, because they were coming for his job, you know? And then V60.89. So I found this one. This one's discord with neighbor, lodger, and landlord. I said that for the business part of it. His business at Sugar Ray is not necessarily his actual home. So that goes back to the employment.
He was the building owner though, won't he? Because he owned the actual like candy store that was the front for the under business.
So yeah, but it wasn't necessarily his home. But yeah, I mean, discord with the neighbor. We'll call the supposed friendly neighborhood police officer the neighbor.
Officer Calhoun with his old raggedy ass.
He was just trying to make his money because he wasn't making as much money as he wanted, just like a lot of police officers today. They don't get paid that much, and this is a quick come up where they can use their power where they have no power in other places.
Exactly.
I hated his guts.
And then my last V code is V62.4, target of perceived adverse discrimination or persecution. So that's clearly evident from the officer, or was he a detective or officer?
In my mind, I'm just thinking officer. I mean, calling him a detective makes him sound more important.
He was a bum. That's what he was, a bum.
Calling him a detective makes him more important than
he really
to allow him to.
Okay. Right. We're just going to call him an officer.
Yes.
Yes. So those are the ones. And then I realized that we should write a letter to the DSM and tell them that they need to add a V code for police brutality.
Oh, that's something. So you're going to write a letter to the American
American APA. They're not going to get it because I'm not going to get it.
Oh, okay. I was like, they would get it and they would actually read it.
I had so much hope. Like, if she just had it all sucked out of me. I was like, you know what? I could get behind that because that could be its own whole little subsection of V codes. And you could talk about brutality. You could talk about abuse of power. You could talk about, like, I saw it all in my mind. And then she said she ain't writing it. So, and I that's not something I'm willing to take off of your plate and write myself. So.
Listen, I didn't want to write. I don't want to put it on my plate. I just put it out there for the listener. If you got nothing you want, you get there. You go. Right there's a paper, a few articles.
Take up that charge.
Right.
Go for it.
You do it. That's just the idea.
Okay, somebody who I did give a full-on diagnosis to is Jack Jenkins. So was he supposed to be like the Jack Johnson of the time?
Remind me of what he did.
He was the boxer.
The boxer.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, he was. That was supposed to be what I read where they were going with that.
So yes, I fully diagnosed Jack Jenkins with a fluency disorder.
Wow, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and really, I don't think that it was a result of boxing, because as we saw, he was beating the brakes off of that white boy. So I don't think he really took too many punches to the brain where it was a traumatic brain injury. I really just feel like it was a fluency disorder.
And poverty and lack of education, and
maybe there wasn't a speech pathologist readily available in the Black community during that time, and they just weren't able to intervene in his sound syllable.
Was that even a thing back then? Was speech?
Probably not.
I'm going to look that up and see, was speech pathology even?
I bet you they probably just put them in special education classes, like, because he was fully present and aware and knew everything. But I'm sure they just labeled him as mentally retarded and kept it moving because they took little consideration into communication disorders during that time.
They didn't care. It's like, just do something where you don't have to talk. I mean, my grandfather had a horrible stutter. And he just went to the military. There's no chance of him going to do something where, I mean, he was a great man, but raised 6 kids who all went to college. But his stutter, especially when he got mad and started cussing us out.
As someone who has suffered with a slight, very low level speech impediment, don't make fun of us, because when we get angry, that's when, and then when we get to stuttering, and then people don't take us seriously, it makes us more bad.
So we were kids, so we look at him and try not to laugh. It's like, don't laugh, because he gonna hit you. Oh, yes.
I don't even want to try to use my words no more.
I'm gonna just use my hand.
Give him time to get it out. He's a great man.
So, based off of a quick Google search, speech pathology began to get recognition in the 1920s.
Oh, okay. So they were around then.
Well, however, it was just beginning for us.
Right. So it wasn't for us yet.
Exactly. That's when it got recognition, and then it probably didn't really get anywhere until later.
Maybe after winning this fight, he might have had enough money to, hire somebody for a couple.
But he won that. I mean, after winning the fight, he was successful in his desired field, and so he probably would not have felt that it was important for him to learn how to. We didn't do media interviews and stuff back then.
Only if it was something that he wanted to work on.
Right, this wasn't like a big thing where the radio was coming to interview him.
Yeah, actually,
he didn't even do autographs.
Yeah, Mike Tyson was actually the only boxer to actually get that type of endorsement and media attention as far as boxing is concerned. So usually that type of attention would go to football players and basketball players. But yep,
I don't know. Sugar Ray Leonard wasn't getting because he was during his time.
No.
He was popular. He was that dude, especially after he fought who happened to be in this movie, Roberto Duran. If you didn't notice, Roberto, who is the security guard that comes to talk to Sugar Ray and whisper in his ear that Tommy and them is walking in, that's Roberto Duran.
I kick your ass?
Yes.
I kick your ass.
That is no mas. I kick your ass is no mas. Same man.
No, you had no kicky ass.
Well, but see, when it came to learning how to speak, when I'm thinking, he was the one. I was about to say, he was by far, when I'm thinking about boxers, the one who needed the most assistance there. And he felt like it was important. His publicist and the rest of his team was like, it's necessary. I mean, his voice alone, that's not something that they could fix. So they tried to fix other areas. Yeah.
Y'all, there's a really good two-part documentary series that you gotta watch with Mike Tyson. It's pretty dope. It gives you a really good highlight or view of him, because I was growing up, everybody was hating on Mike Tyson. He was this bad guy.
Well, because they said he had beat his wife said.
Robin,
I was about to say she said.
It
sounded like it was news to him because he looked at her like.
Right. They didn't say it. She said it. And everybody was like, what? Including him? But yeah.
I mean, you see her, she barely got any recognition after that either. They both ruined each other's career. Honestly.
I blame her mama. It's her mama and her mama's fault, and both of them suffered, and it was all her mama's fault. As someone who loves boxing,
about her mama.
As someone who loves boxing and is a serious fan of Mike Tyson, and just knowing the history, I watched him multiple documentaries, all the interviews, him telling the stories. It was all her mama. Her mama was a gold digging heifer. She was not an honest hoe, and she was out here sending her daughter to go make that money for her. And Brad Pitt won't make it enough money at the time, so she got her on to Mike Tyson, and she was sucking the both of them dry. Okay, so back to Harlem Nights. I'm sorry, y'all know how I get off.
Sorry, right? Yeah. Okay, so you asked if this was Sugar who, the boxer who?
No, girl, never mind. We'd walk past that. Bugsy Calhoun. The big, fat, nasty, greasy, fat, stank, bloated, cheese back, 12 sandwich eating bastard, Bugsy Calhoun.
I felt like that was an ad lib. Like,
I was like, is that how they said it in the movie?
Right.
Yep, that's what Eddie called him.
But I feel like when Eddie was just supposed to say Calhoun, he just added all that other stuff.
Yeah.
He had to, because he said fat twice. Like, he was just like,
exactly.
Fat again.
So
I diagnosed him with full-on antisocial personality disorder.
Me too. And let me tell you.
Uh-oh.
Not gonna make this, because I brought up race enough today, but that was just basic white privilege. And back then, Italians wanted to think that they weren't white, but they very much benefited off of being
white
Caucasian.
Colored.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be white until it was,
right. They benefited them to be white from being light bright. So, I'm with you. Antisocial personality disorder.
Yes, full on for him. Yep. Oh, tugboat bottom bastard.
I mean, just with the thought that he could just come up in and just take somebody's stuff just because he wanted it and cause them harm and stress, and just do it because I'm me and I want it, so it should be mine.
2/3 of their profit. You want 2/3 of their profit?
I mean, that's just
selfish. And what?
How they supposed to keep on paying people like that?
This
like,
is disrespectful. No,
but I'm not surprised.
And I mean, I think that was just another way for them to just push him out of business. Mm-hmm. Nice and slow, and then just paya out.
I might have stayed after I blew him up. Like you blew him up. Like,
well, agreed. Except, I mean, the police will come after them.
Yeah. They did the smart thing.
Right.
They did the smart thing.
You have everything you need. Just rebuild somewhere else.
Because they did blow him up in Sugar Ray's house. You're right. They did what they needed to do. They need to get up out of there. Mm-hmm. But I did feel like that he met the criteria as far as failing to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors, as indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest. But when you own the police department, it's kind of hard to get arrested there. Deceitfulness, as well as irritability and aggressiveness, reckless disregard for safety, more so in his case for others than it was himself. And then lack of remorse, as indicated by not as being indifferent or rationalizing, hurting, mistreating, or stealing from another. Because he thought it was a fair offer for him to just take 2/3 of their money and give them 1/3. Like, that made sense.
Yeah, I'm not even sure he believed that was fair. He just
there was no remorse for it, though.
Right, definitely. You are 100% right with that. He did not give one shit. You're right.
I did want to ask, though, what were you guys' thoughts on Dominique LaRue? Because I was like, after a while, I felt like, no, she was really just completing a job. Like, options are limited during that time. This is an opportunity for her. She sees it as just an opportunity. So she really just said, like, I work for Calhoun. This is my job. This is not personal. This is all that I'm doing.
I think that her saying that it wasn't personal is just something she was saying. I think she believed and that Calhoun would take care of her. That's what I mean. You know what that reminds me of? Like Candace Owens. Like I'm just gonna bring down this big black business and pretend like I care about black people, but then you can't act like you care about them and then do stuff to undercut them and try to bring them down. She was this. She if she were real, she would have paved the way for people like Candace Owens.
Ugh. When Quick came back, he said, "How was your date?" I killed her. Oh,
Right.
turn the pussy up, huh? No, man, I killed her. Pussy was that bad, huh?
That was priceless. I was not expecting him to say that.
It was well written comedy.
It was.
Yes.
It was.
They slap.
I feel like the whole film was well written, and while Eddie is the only individual listed credited as writing, they did say that a lot of that the ideas and some of the scripts came from Charlie as well. And so he did a lot of some of the masterminding behind the actual development of the film. And so I just appreciate him for all of his jokes in the film as well. I think that it was well written. It was really still funny, but it also had a quality plot. It had you understood the development of each character, who they were supposed to be playing, why they did the things that they did in the film. Like all of that made sense. And so I appreciate the film for its totality, even though it doesn't get the respect that it does deserve.
Mm-hmm. They should do a reboot or maybe.
I was gonna ask you that.
You think, well, because you're always afraid they're gonna mess it up. But I liked Coming to America too. I'm not sure how they would. I mean, I want to know where they went after they left Harlem, and what did they? I mean, but everybody's dead
hard.
except
I was about to say everybody gone.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's
That's
dead
the
but
hard
Eddie.
part. This is truly a gem. To have had them all on this film.
Yeah,
was really a once in a lifetime thing, literally. So, what do you think about the quality of our comedians now in comparison to the ones that were in this film? Do you think that they could do something like this and pull something like this off?
No.
That was real fast too. I was about to start thinking about it, pondering, just no.
So I love comedy, and I'm that person that watch all the Netflix stand-up comedians and watch all of their movies. But sometimes I'm watching them and I'm like, I just can't take it. Some of them, their voices, I just can't stand to hear. Are they laughing? And I'm like, that wasn't even funny. Come on, please make me laugh for real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think a lot
if they come together, it'd be bad. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Courtney.
I think that a lot of the comedians at that time had the opportunity to really work out material and build their funny and build that strong comedic base by being on the road, by being in black, there was the lack of the white gaze. And so they were able to communicate to black audiences and cater all of their jokes specifically to us so that they could get to the heart of the funny. And I think that is missing a little bit now because things are so different. You have to try to cater to a wider audience.
If you want to make money.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And because of that, and because of the disappearance of a lot of Black centered comedy clubs and things like that, people don't have the opportunity to build that up the same way. Now, don't get me wrong, we do have a lot of funny people in the business.
I agree.
I just don't know if they could make. I'm just
afraid of them coming together.
Yeah. How that would mesh together. Because I had told somebody the other day, I had watched the Michael Che show. That was on HBO Max now. And I had posted, I was like, I love Michael Che. I think he's so funny, but I just never get to see him because I don't watch Saturday Night Live because it's not funny. And he's not funny on Saturday Night Live.
I keep trying to get back into Saturday Night Live, but it's...
But why?
I haven't seen it in a minute now. It just depends on who's the guest star. I'm like, okay, now I might watch it. And then I'm just...
Maybe.
It's just... bad.
Honestly,
no, because then I feel like I'm struggling to see people that I know are funny be uncomfortable in the Saturday Night Live format, and it's just not funny. Keenan does his thing on there, and yes, his stuff sometimes is funny.
It's funny,
He knows how to make that balance, but everybody can't do that.
I would like something more like In Living Color.
Yes,
instead.
Yeah, another Homie Don't Play That type
right
skit, you know. But I don't know. And even with his series, it seems like everything has to be politically correct now. And everything is just like, we're just not, everything just is so focused on what's happening in our society right now, which makes sense, you know, and trying to make it light and humorous sometimes just feels like awkward. And it's like, okay.
And I feel like funny is just different now too, because I feel like Red Fox's, his ad libs in this film are everything to me. Watch out quick, you fucking with a heavyweight. Like the different shit that he said all throughout this film.
I love Red Fox more than Richard Pryor.
Yes.
My favorite thing that Richard Pryor was ever in. I was never too, I know it was great for a lot of people. I was never really into his comedy. But yeah.
You know, it's funny that Richard said that he and Eddie didn't make a connection, and that he actually felt that Eddie Murphy's humor or comedy was mean and vulgar. Yeah.
But this is also, we have to think about the Richard of the time. This is 89. So this is after he went to Africa and stopped saying nigga. This is after he set himself on fire. So he calmed down a little bit with the drugs. Like he was getting sick during it. Like you could start to see that how frail he was in the film and see it in his face and everything. So like, it's not 70s Richard that was with all of the shits. It's almost 90s.
Yeah, he was like, people try to blame him for Eddie coming in like, you know, hot the way he did. Oh, you paved the way, or you made Eddie this way. He was like, I had nothing to do with that. You know, like you said, it was almost like they were like this. Like Richard was coming down to his decline, Eddie was going, you know, and you know, they just happened to do some work together in this film. So.
But that's what I feel like is the magic of this film. It happened right when it needed to.
Yeah.
All of those key players were still there. Like Robin Harris is still in this movie. Like you have so many awesome people. It just came together at the right time and it worked and it fit. And I just appreciate the film for it. And I don't want nobody to try to recreate it because leave it alone.
Yeah, You're right.
The last thing I wanted to talk about or just bring up was Richie in Sunshine. Put your mother on the phone. Hey, look, I ain't never coming home again. Take it easy.
Yes.
Just wanted to get y'all's take on him in Sunshine real quick before we go. That's all I need.
Again, something that was common back in the day. You could always start a new family without technology. Hey, everybody knows somebody who's granddaddy had, it wasn't my granddaddy, thank God, but it was your granddaddy had another family. I had a friend, and I knew her, and I knew her cousin, and I knew their grandfather. He was a great man. We went to church together, but back in the day when he was the mailman, he was delivering a lot more than the mail.
Oh no!
So, you couldn't debit people's accounts for child support.
Wow, he was literally delivering the letter D.
My great grandfather left his family and just didn't even go that far. Went from it was Whitehall, Alabama, just went to Birmingham, which I just found out 5 years ago because of Ancestry.com. I found where he was getting his VA benefits. He just, when he passed away, just had kids.
Damn,
I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going about my business.
The Temptations had it right. Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Hey, Janet Carmichael said everybody's grandfather is a terrible human being.
Not mine.
Grandfathers are just horrible people.
Not
mine.
But yeah, Sunshine had him whipped and it was all part of the plot. And she, skated off into the sunset with everybody else to some unknown city. I will give you, I do want to know where they went afterwards. I just don't want a whole film.
Maybe when Dr. B decides to write her letter, she'll write one to Eddie Murphy and say, just please answer for us where they went.
Yes.
Get on that, Dr. B. Make it happen.
Okay.
Just tell us where they went. Okay.
Maybe it's the maybe on their celebration, maybe in 2029, we can get like a a little, screening of the film, and he can, do an interview, something nice, and tell us where they went. Cause I need to know. I do need to know. I don't like not having closure on my films.
Right. They probably went to Atlanta.
You know what?
Probably it might have.
Right.
Black people migrate to Atlanta.
Then again, it was the 30s, and Atlanta was still Atlanta of the 30s in the Black Mecca it is today.
They probably went to Chicago, Dr. Rosie B.
Chicago.
Oh,
Chicago.
Yeah.
All right. We don't even need it, Eddie. We just did it for you. You're welcome.
Yeah.
So before we go, Dr. Asha, can you please tell the people how to reach you? First, thank you for being on our show and agreeing to hang out with us and talk about another awesome movie and suggesting that we do Harlem Nights. We appreciate you for that.
Did I suggest that? Okay, I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, you did. Okay. You did. He was like, I'll do Harlem Nights. I was like, I kept it in the back of my head.
You remember way too much. But yes, okay, how can people find me?
Plug all your businesses and anything you got going on.
I got a lot going on. But the
stuff you want us to know.
Right. I can always be emailed at, so my name is spelled ASHA, last name is Dickerson, Dickerson. And I can always be found at asha.dickerson@gmail.com. If you need counseling, I'm not taking anybody else, but I can always refer you to someone else. I do counselor supervision. Again, just email for that. And that's it. Other than that, you can find out about my services at my website. It's ashadickerson.com. And social media, right? Because that's what the young people like. I'm on Instagram at Dr_ASHASD. Same for my Twitter. Because I joined the Twitter 2 months ago. I did.
Not the Twitter.
The Twitter. And you be the Twitter.
I do. It's
tweeting.
Very
Not the
twittering. Very rarely, but when I do, people seem to like it. So I might tweet a little.
You might be on to something.
I do it and then I forget I have it, and then it sits there for a week. But I'm gonna do better.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you again. We appreciate you. And to all the listeners, if you would like to support the show to help us get more content out to you all, you can visit our website and follow the support the link to become a Patreon member or donate on our Cash App. Now, we're happy to get the kind of money that jingles, but we'd rather the kind that folds. As always, be sure to follow us on Instagram at the DSM Podcast, and you can subscribe to our show wherever you get podcasts. While you're there, go ahead and leave us a comment because we are counselors and actually care about what you have to say. Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Okay, bye.